Staten Island Community Television. You're watching In the Bleachers, the TV show for the world's most passionate sports fan. Hello, everyone. I'm Jaime Hixson. Hopefully, we can get Hector Bosa calling into the studio in the next few moments. But in the meantime, I've got you and I to deal with for the next hour. And if you have a story that you want told here on the show, then we would love to know about it. So contact us through Facebook, Twitter, and also YouTube, the three avenues where past shows can be seen, by the way, and we can have your story told for you. Now, you'll have to excuse us if we weren't on the tube for about a month. Unfortunately, I had COVID, but fortunately, I'm doing well. Things are going great, and we're back to talk sports for about the next hour or so. Again, we're hoping that Hector can join us on the show. So, in the meantime, we have a whole bunch of business to discuss. So let's start with the Super Bowl. This has the potential to be one of the great Super Bowl contests of all time. A matchup of two of the best quarterbacks in the game. One who is not even at the peak of his career yet, even though he's already won a championship, and one who should have been in retirement long ago, but is not because the fire is still burning in him to win another championship. You've got Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady. Patrick Mahomes, a guy who has just, let me tell you, this kid is all substance as well as style. I mean, he's out there throwing wrist passes and no-look passes. It's like he's the point guard of an NBA team, and he's running it fluidly. It's just a beautiful sight to see this kid play the game every Sunday. And you also got Tom Brady, a guy who's 43 years old, says he might play until he's 45, but the way he's looked this year, you might be, don't be surprised if this guy decides to play until he's maybe 50 years old, because he has still got it. He's still throwing the ball with a lot of zip, which is shocking for a guy his age. And he's looked so fluid with his new teammates in Tampa. This only begs the question, what do you think the people in New England are thinking right now? This has gotten to a point where Patriots fans are probably crying in their beers right now, seeing what this guy has been able to do with the Buccaneers. I mean, think about it. He got the Buccaneers past a Redskins team that, quite frankly, was ripe to be beaten. And he also gets the Buccaneers past a Saints team led by another 40-something quarterback, Drew Brees, who was on his own Super Bowl journey, but now there's a strong possibility we may have seen him play his last game. And now, just yesterday, going into that frozen tundra of Lambeau Field against the Packers, and it's gotten to, and the way the Buccaneers were able to just get off to a quick start the way they did, just goes to show you how much fluidity there is between Brady and the entire offense. But I think some credit should be given to the Buccaneer defense. I mean, the scores haven't shown it, but the Buccaneers have really made a lot of timely defensive stops when they were supposed to. And now, because of all of this, the Buccaneers have their shot to win their second Super Bowl in franchise history, and Brady has his shot to win his seventh. Think about it. He's going to play in his 10th Super Bowl. I don't seem to recall one quarterback who has worked so tirelessly and so hard as Brady has. I mean, the work ethic that he puts in is just incredible. Now, Brady's got a chance at a seventh title in 10 appearances. These could be records, and they're individual records. These could be individual records that we may not see broken in our lifetime. And Brady has to try and accomplish this against a guy like Patrick Mahomes, whose father I once saw play for the Mets for 2 years, many years ago, and now who's just defying all logic as far as being able to do what he has been able to do is concerned. Now, as far as other stuff going on in the NFL, speaking of which, speaking of the Super Bowl, they're planning on drawing at least 27,000 fans in Raymond James Stadium, which also brings up another point. This is going to be the first Super Bowl in which the host city is going to be playing in the game. And they're going to have 27,000 fans in attendance for this game, including, I think, 7,500 medical workers who have done so much and have just bent over backwards to try and counter this coronavirus. And these workers are also going to be honored during the game, and it's a really beautiful thing that the NFL is doing here, honoring all of these medical workers, because they have, quite frankly, they deserve it. They've bent over backwards to try and counter this coronavirus, and now they're finally going to be rewarded for all of their good deeds. Now, elsewhere in the NFL, the big story here in our neck of the woods has been the Jets hiring Robert Saleh to be their new head coach. Overall, I like the move. It's he's a guy who brings a lot of fire and a lot of knowledge to the game. And he also made history because he is the very first Muslim American head coach. He's of Lebanese descent. So it's good to see another minority get a head coaching position in the game. I really hope that the NFL can try and do all they can to not necessarily nudge, but maybe give advice to other teams about who the best person is to hire. I mean, think about it. The NFL has roughly 70% of the players that are African American. The least they can do is try and convince teams to hire guys who put in so much blood, sweat, and tears into the game. For some of whom did so for many years, and have them be a head coach for once. Now, as far as the Giants are concerned, I saw Sports Extra the other night, and there was an interview that Tina Servasio of Channel 5 did with Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley has been vigorously rehabbing a knee injury that he suffered in the second game of this season. So, excuse me. Needless to say, this guy has been really working his tail off to try and get back his starting fullback spot, his starting tailback spot, which he wound up losing at the beginning of the year. So hopefully he could be at that point where he could get his starting tailback spot at the beginning of next season. And maybe I shouldn't mention this, but the Pro Bowl is going to be played next weekend. Anyway, Hector just called. Actually, Hector just sent a text message. He said he's going to be calling in the next 5 minutes, so hopefully he'll be able to join us by then. Now, there's been a lot of talk about who is going to be drafting whom in the upcoming NFL draft, which is going to be in April or May. We know that Jacksonville has the first pick and the Jets have the second pick. In all likelihood, the Jaguars are going to take Trevor Lawrence from Clemson. Now, the issue is, who are the Jets going to pick? If they want to make a big splash with that number 2 pick, I've been told that maybe they'll trade down for the pick, or maybe trade the pick altogether in order to get some more picks. Who knows? And Hector just sent another text message. He's asking if Tom Brady is the new Tom Terrific. And I'm texting him back, he always has been. Anyway, if the Jets want to make a big splash in this draft, they draft Devontae Smith from Alabama. If you saw him play for Alabama against Clemson in that championship game, or correction, if you saw Alabama play against Ohio State in that championship game, you'll know why. I mean, the kid is just lights out. And if I'm not mistaken, I think Hector just made his way into the airwaves right now. Are you there, Hector? You there, Hector? Hector, you there? Well, Kenny Graham, who's on the other side of the glass, is trying to fix the whole thing right now.
Okay.
Okay, there we go.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, man.
You can hear the hardest, baddest, sexiest man on cable access TV still?
I did not have to hear that part.
The man that gets paid and gets laid? That's right, baby. I'm back.
I didn't have to hear that part either.
Stop being jealous. You know it's true. But
I ain't jealous of you.
I'm sure you're talking about Tom Terrific.
Actually, I already mentioned Tom Brady a few minutes ago, but we could discuss him further.
I just want to know one thing.
Yeah.
Did Gronkowski make a difference? And I'm sure you pointed this out too, which everybody's saying. Is it Bill Belichick that made that team, was it Tom Brady that made that team, or was it both of them?
It was a collective effort.
But the way it seems like Tom Brady was the one that is the man, and he didn't need Bill Belichick. And
Oh,
also,
I
especially
totally
with,
disagree. I think Brady needed Belichick just as much as vice versa.
but also the coach at the time was killing Tom Brady. In the beginning, before he did this miracle, he was killing him in the media. Remember that?
I don't know about killing him in the media. He might have killed him in the film room and also the locker room. He might have done that because let me tell you, Bill Belichick is a guy who's never happy. He's the consummate curmudgeon. If he sees something in the video that he doesn't like, he's going to point it out to that guy that made that mistake. The same thing,
Yeah, but I'm talking about
especially
Tom
Brady.
Brady's new team. Tom Brady's new team, the Bucks. The coach wasn't very receptive to him in the beginning because he wasn't playing that well. The new coach was not very receptive because I heard that and I'm going. And then finally they started clicking because he was saying that he wasn't clicking with the team in the beginning.
Well, you have to
But
understand, this
it
is a
takes time.
16-game season. You can't sound the alarm and try to think that things are going terrible just because of one game. I mean, that's why they play 16 games a season.
And also, did Gronkowski make that much of a difference on the team?
He made a difference in spots. I mean, there was the catch that he made in yesterday's game, which practically sealed the game against the Packers.
Right.
I mean, granted, he didn't get a lot of plays called for him for the majority of the season, but when he did, he made a huge difference. And don't be surprised if you see him make a difference in the Super Bowl.
Now, what's your prediction now again?
My pick is Kansas City. I think that the Chiefs will be able to overcome the couple of guys that they lost to injury on the offensive line, and I think that Patrick Mahomes is going to have himself a hell of a game, and I think that the Buccaneers win this by a touchdown.
So you're saying that the Chiefs will win, or the Buccaneers are going to win?
My pick is the Chiefs.
The Chiefs. Okay, that makes sense. Young gun versus old gun. Tom Brady, though, seemed as if he was a touchdown away from throwing interceptions.
He looked like it in the second half yesterday. I mean, he was throwing these inexplicable passes that seemed like he was throwing from his back foot.
Did he remind you of Ken O'Brien?
Oh, brother. One of the last names that Jet fans ever want to hear is that name. You want to know what's funny? He actually he has his own football academy in California.
Hey, listen, if Billy Donovan could coach a team, and he was a great collegiate player, but when he was a terrible pro player. Okay, so yeah, I could.
And that lasted what, 5 minutes?
Speaking of the New York Knicks, the mighty Knicks.
They're not mighty.
They're 7-6 or 8, and they're one game ahead. The mighty Knicks finally a backcourt of Rivers and Quigley. Noel at center, if they didn't get rid of him. Or did he go to the Nets? Noel.
No, he's still on the Knicks.
Oh, okay. Look at it. The mighty Knicks. The people that said they had no chance.
They're 2
none,
games under 500.
that they make the playoffs.
They're 2
Wow.
games under 500.
Actually make the playoffs. Wow. And you know who's trying to make a comeback? You're not gonna believe it. But
I could probably drop a name or two. One guy is Lance Stevenson.
No. It's a person that you love so much to hate.
Who are you talking about?
Isaiah Thomas.
You're mentioning the other Isaiah Thomas.
No, I'm not talking about Celtics Isaiah Thomas. I'm talking about Detroit Pistons Isaiah Thomas.
Oh, brother. What could he possibly do to try and ruin a team this time?
He's got an experience. He was a ring general. He's not a bad dude. He can come off the bench.
No.
If he's still in halfway decent shape. And he still can play defense more than what some of these other players can do.
Are you talking about the Isaiah Thomas that? Are you talking about the Isaiah Thomas that was the general manager, or are you talking about the Isaiah Thomas that was a journeyman for a few guys?
No, Isaiah Thomas that played for the Detroit Pistons. Isaiah Thomas that was a GM and a coach for the New York Knicks. That Isaiah Thomas.
Oh, brother. He's trying to make a comeback as a player?
Yep. I read that somewhere.
What could he possibly do at close to 60 years of age?
You know, the way the game is played nowadays, they don't really play that much defense. So why can't he?
Because he's close to 60 years of age. That's why.
If he's still in good shape and can throw down the D, and if you only use it for a couple of minutes,
there is no team with that. There is no team with half a brain that is going to try and do anything that stupid to try and sign him to a deal. Seriously, come on now.
You never know.
No.
You never know.
Not at 60 years of age. That is probably the single most bizarre, most ludicrous, and most asinine thing that I have ever heard.
I mean,
no one is going to sign a 60-year-old guy to a deal.
You would figure that Jeremy Lin is trying to get back on any team to play in the G League.
Jeremy Lin, I can understand. At least Jeremy Lin is in his early 30s, and he's on a G League team to try and make his way into the big time again. Lance Stevenson is another guy.
Exactly. So, but Isaiah Thomas got the experience, the rings, former coach, former GM.
He's also got excess baggage.
That was then. This is now. That was 5 years ago. What happened was 6, 7 years ago. He don't got nothing anymore. If you want to hold him accountable for what happened 6 or 7 years ago, then hell, we should all be accountable for something. Because I'm sure we've done something in the past and we regret. You know? So, and James Harden, did he make the New Jersey Brooklyn Nets better, worse? Or did they give up so much for him because they want to win now?
I think he'll make them. He'll definitely give them a lot more scoring, that's for sure, and he'll be able to create shots enough for himself and his teammates that they would be able to get more scoring opportunities. But defensively, that's another story. Not only that, but Where's the height? I only see one guy who's got who's a center on that roster, and that's DeAndre Jordan. Other than that, they're 8 deep at guard, and that leads me to believe that they're going to play a lot of small ball and also try and create transition opportunities.
So what are the chances of them winning again in the East?
I mean, they're not terrible, but going up against teams like the Celtics and the Pacers and the Heat and the Raptors.
Well, they built them to win now.
Tell you what, against a team like the Celtics, they might be able to have a chance against a team like the Celtics. The only problem is the Celtics are much younger and they're so much more athletic, and they've got a tad more height than the Nets do.
But they only gave up draft choices for him, right? They didn't give up players either.
The Nets gave up a really good player in Jared Allen, who right now is if you saw the Nets play the Cavaliers post trade, Jared Allen was a real net killer. And they also gave up Taurean Prince, another really good player.
Yeah, and they gave up a lot of draft choices too.
Yeah, 4 draft picks, and also 4 swaps of draft picks, meaning the Nets could exchange spots in the draft with the Rockets down the road.
Well, whatever the case may be, I think they're planning to win now because the East may not be as tight as it used to be.
This was definitely done to win now. I mean, they would not have made this trade if they would not have wanted to win now if this trade was not made. Let's put it that way. But let me tell you, 3 guys, Harden, Kevin Durant, and when he has his head on straight, Kyrie Irving, that is about as deadly a trio as you could ever face on the court. I just worry about if they're able to rebound or not. And there's just not enough height on the roster that would allow them to get a big rebound in a key spot.
Now that the Mets have made a big splash with getting Lindor, trying to extend his contract, trying to get pictures, trying to change the outcome and the culture of the shade of Mets. What do you think of that?
You talking about the New York Mets?
Yes.
As in Citi Field?
Yes.
Well, let's put it this way. They definitely improved their pitching staff. I mean, after Jacob deGrom and David Peterson getting Carlos Carrasco, who was part of the Francisco Lindor trade, and also getting Joey Lucchesi, who's a rather underrated pitcher, a very underrated lefty. And they may not be done yet. I mean, I'm hearing that the Mets might be interested in getting Trevor Bauer, which would be huge for that staff. So far, their pitching staff has gotten a lot better, and they made a huge splash getting Lindor. Now all they got to do is get themselves either a third baseman or a center fielder or a left fielder or maybe both or all 3 of them. If they can do that, I think they're going to be really problematic for teams in the National League.
And the Yankees aren't, I mean, you hear them, but you don't hear them make the big splash as the Mets. But they are doing something.
Just because you
And
don't
that's
hear them doesn't mean that
tomorrow.
they're not busy.
I mean, the Guillermo Stanton is the one that's a big contract. We can't really do nothing with him. That's a huge contract. So that's tough. Even if you want to get rid of the guy, you have to do the Bobby Bonilla thing. You want to get rid of him. But where do you
He's
see
not
the
going
Yankees?
anywhere anytime soon. I hate to tell you this, man, but he's not going anywhere. They need that bat in the
Where do you
lineup.
see the Yankees? Where do you see the Yankees and Mets placing with the team that they have now?
I think the Yankees could probably challenge for the Eastern Division championship. The Mets, they're making these deals for the sole purpose of winning a division title. They don't want a wild card. They want that division championship. As far as the Yankees are concerned, they've kept themselves so busy in the last few weeks. I mean, look at the deals that they made.
Finally
Jameson
signed LeMay.
Taillon.
They finally signed LeMay for 6 years.
Mm-hmm. Re-signing DJ
After
LeMahieu as well, of course. And also getting the getting a 1-year deal with Corey Kluber.
yeah, Kluber for a year, non-tested.
The only problem is he's coming off a Tommy John surgery, so they're hoping that he'll be able to be strong enough by the start of spring training where he can make a contribution.
But so who do you think the Mets are going to go after as the new GM?
Well, if you talk to them, they may not want a new GM. I think they might keep the position vacant and have Sandy Alderson probably be the boss right now, and he would be the one that's making all of the decisions.
Mm. Did you see the fight between Conor McGregor and the other dude?
I saw the end of it. McGregor wound up getting his butt kicked. You know,
Getting hit in the leg about 15 times.
you know, there's something to be said, that is, for humility. Just for once, I would like to hear Conor McGregor show some humility for once. But it doesn't seem to be his MO.
He did show some, I think, in the press conference after he lost.
Yeah, but next thing you know, he's going to want to.
But he beat me with the leg.
The next thing you know, he's probably going to want to talk about his next big fight.
Well, I tell you, this is a man that went up against Roy Mayweather and lasted the entire 12 rounds.
Mm-hmm.
Give him credit, because he's a boxer, but he's not really trained to be a boxer like Mayweather.
Mm-hmm.
And he lasted the 12 full rounds with him and almost pulled it out. So the man's not foolish, and he is very talented. Now, sometimes he could be full of himself, but remember, like a carny, you got to sell tickets. And you'll always remember him. They're saying that he may go to the WWE to fight Sheamus.
The Battle of the Irishman.
Exactly. So the Islanders picked up someone.
Mm-hmm.
Who did they pick? They signed someone, didn't they?
Let me see if I can find that out right now. Hmm. Unfortunately, the app doesn't show
I mean,
exactly
for
who
the
they
New
picked
York
up.
teams, some made a big splash. Now, did the Jets make a big splash getting the coach?
Yes, they did.
Now, what's the difference between him and every other guy that they kept on saying, oh, he's wonderful, oh, he's great? What makes him so different?
This one has a little bit more fire to him than all the other guys. I mean, Rex Ryan was the same way, but at least he produced a couple of playoff appearances in a row. That's one thing. But Salah, he's got a personality that might be tailor made for New York. You may not know this, but his brother was actually in the towers the night of the terrorist attacks, and fortunately, he wound up being saved. So there's a bit of a connection between him and the city.
You know, I'm wondering if that fireman retired, the one that used to go to the Jets game.
Are you talking about Fireman Ed?
Yeah.
He probably did.
Or do you think that the Jets were so bad he didn't want to be bothered?
He was there during the 1-15 season all those years ago. So if he could put up with 1-15, he could probably put up with 2-14.
You're right. You're right. You're right. You're right. You are absolutely right, Jamie.
Mm-hmm.
But I gotta tell you, oh, I mean,
You okay over
the
there, Hector?
way I said the way the Bucks were playing, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they acted as if they wanted to lose the game. Because
Well,
Brady didn't play all that well.
second half he didn't play that well. That's because Green Bay's defense actually put up a good front that second half.
Yeah,
I think Green Bay had enough of a rush where they were able to force Brady into some bad throws.
true, true. But what do you think of the backcourt with Emmanuel Quigley? The coach said that Emmanuel Quigley was going to show you what he got.
Well, so far he has shown what he's got to the point where he's taken over starting point guard duties.
For who? For who? Who is he taking over?
What was that?
Who is he taking over for?
He was taking over for hmm who's taking over for.
Hey, Jamie, can you hold
Alfred
on?
Payton.
Can you talk for a bit? I got to do something right quick. I'll be right back.
Of course.
Thank you. I'll be right back.
All right. Well, 19 minutes left in the show. So I guess we could pretty much discuss how busy the Yankees have been in the last few weeks. First off, not only did they bring back the reigning batting champion, they also gave him a brand spanking new 6-year deal worth $90 million, which I think is chump change for any defending batting champion. Not only that, but they also made the deal to get Jamison Tyone. And he and Garrett Cole were actually friends when they first worked together in the minor leagues. So something tells me they might be able to make a good 1-2 punch in that starting rotation. Unfortunately, Tyone wound up suffering an injury which required Tommy John surgery. So hopefully he'll be able to make it back by the start of spring training. That way he can make a contribution. And of course, there's also Corey Kluber, who they gave that 1-year deal to. Kluber also suffered from Tommy John surgery, that is. Or he wound up undergoing Tommy John surgery. So hopefully he'll be able to return and make a really good contribution. So that makes up 3/5 of that starting rotation. You figure who's going to make a claim to the last 2 spots. You've got Domingo Germán, who's coming off a suspension for domestic violence. There's also Luis Severino, who also underwent a Tommy John surgery. There's also Davy Garcia, Clark Schmidt, and Jordan Montgomery. Right now, I would say maybe Domingo Germán and Luis Severino would be the two. My prediction is that Severino and Germán would be the 2 guys that would probably take those 3, the last 2 spots, I should say. As far as the Mets are concerned, this is another team that's kept themselves really busy. Overall, I would say that the Mets have had themselves a very, very, very good winter. I mean, they made the trade for Francisco Lindor, and they wound up getting a pitcher out of it as well. Now there's a strong possibility that they may make a play for Trevor Bauer. And there's even some word that the Mets might go after Chris Bryant of the Cubs to try and play third base. And let me tell you, this is all made possible by the new owner of the Mets. And it's gotten to the point where Met fans finally have a chance to have something to fall back on and be excited about. So hopefully the Mets will challenge for a division title and maybe make their way to a World Series. You never know. I'm still spinning. My head is still spinning about this Isaiah Thomas thing. I went into social media, and I didn't see anything about Isaiah Thomas, the old Isaiah
I'm telling
Thomas.
you, I did. They said in one of those tickets, those things that you see on TV, they said that Isaiah Thomas was coming out of retirement to try to make a basketball team. Now, I doubt it's going to be this year, unless he's in superb shape. But, Lindahl, you think that he's going to get a big contract and stay with the Mets, or he's up and out?
Who are you talking about?
The Mets shortstop.
Francisco Lindor?
Yeah.
I would hope that the Mets would try and get in contract talks somehow. It's not going to be right now because they're getting so close to spring training right now. So it looks like they may have to wait until after the season to try and talk turkey.
And how many games? It's not 160.
They better hope that he can play that many for them.
So I'm saying, how much is Major League Baseball going to play this year?
They're planning on playing 162 games.
Wow. That's a little crazy considering what's happening in the world.
I understand that, but after that 60-game horror show from last year, they feel
was one of the fastest games.
They feel like they're prepared this time to want to play a 162 game season.
Here's the thing. That wasn't so horrible. It's just that whoever was the best team or whoever got hot, it was the one that's going to make the playoffs. So if you're a team that's very slow, but in the end, that's when you charge up, you're dead. You got to ramp up quick.
Mm-hmm.
Is the same rule going to apply? No DH. DH in both leagues again?
All right. You're going to have to run that by me again because I'm still trying to find out this thing about Isaiah Thomas, and I just cannot find anything.
Oh, man, I'm telling you, I seen it. Isaiah Thomas coming back, baby. He'll play with Detroit Pistons.
He's not going to play with anybody. No team is that stupid to want to sign a 60-year-old man. Come on.
He could be in great shape.
I don't think so. Not at 60 years of age.
You don't think a 60-year-old man can be in great shape?
I don't think so.
Oh, you're nuts. You're nuts. I know you don't like the guy, but damn. That's like Michael Jordan wanting to make a comeback.
He could get away with it because he always kept himself in great shape. But you look at him right now, he's a little bit overweight.
Exactly. So what makes me think the opposite?
The fact that he's approaching 60 years of age and hasn't picked up a basketball in forever.
Maybe he's doing workouts or something. And speaking of getting in, Carmelo Anthony.
Melo's got a new deal going with Portland.
Coming off the bench.
At least he was able to finally accept that his time as a starter was done. So now he's coming off the bench to make a contribution.
You got it. What do you think the first thing that the Jets coach is going to do? Replace Sam Darnold, like I've been saying all along?
Well, he actually had some pretty nice things to say about Darnold, but other than that, he didn't reveal who he was going to have as a starting quarterback. Said that it was unfair to make that assertion. As far as who's he's going to make his quarterback, that's anybody's guess.
That is true.
We don't know if he's going to draft a quarterback. We don't know if he's going to sign off on a Deshaun Watson trade. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Tell you what, at least Deshaun Watson has put up some pretty decent numbers in spite of the last 2 years not making the playoffs. Sam Darnold has had 3 years, and his numbers have been rather dubious. So what do you think of next?
Well, I mean, figure it. You've covered everything that needed to be said, except for the fact that how do you see the teams being ranked? Is there a new culture in the Brooklyn Nets situation, even though they gave up so much? The New York Knickerbockers doing very well, not showing resiliency.
Well, let me put it this way. At least the Knicks are not embarrassing themselves, even though they're 2 games under 500. I still say there's no chance in hell they get in the playoffs because there are some teams in the East that might catch up to them. But we're not even 20 games into the season so far, so it's way too early to be making that assertion. As far as the Nets are concerned, they have a 50-50 shot of at least winning the Eastern Conference, not the NBA title, the Eastern Conference. Because you need to rebound in order to win a championship, and the Nets just don't have the height to try and get them past some of the other teams in the league. But I will say this. James Harden and Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving are going to make for one spectacular trio. I think they could get away with probably trying to outscore their opponents in order to get to that next level. All right, we got 5.5 minutes left, so what do you have next for me? Hector? Hector? Oh, well. Either we lost him or he got so drunk that he passed out. Oh, well. I guess I'm going to have to try and get by these last 5 minutes without him. You know, as far as the NHL is concerned, I see the Islanders have gotten off to a 3-0 start, and they wound up losing last night to the New Jersey Devils. Sorry about that, folks. Uh, the the Islanders wound up losing to the Devils last night, and the Rangers blew a third period lead and wound up losing to the Penguins. So as of right now, the Islanders have a 3-2 record. The Rangers only won 3-1. The Devils are off to a pretty good start. They're 3-1-1. The Islanders next play tomorrow against Washington. The Rangers have Buffalo tomorrow. And the Devils have a couple of games at home with Philly, tomorrow and Thursday, I should say. All right, 3 minutes left in the show. There's been a lot. I mentioned that there's been a lot of talk regarding who the Jets should draft. I say that they should draft Devontae Smith. The quickness that this kid has, and the quickness that he showed in the Ohio State game was just phenomenal. And all he did was make plays. Speaking of Alabama, we should probably say congratulations to them because they wound up winning another national title. That is a school that has set the gold standard for winning in college football. And Nick Saban has practically turned into a modern day Paul Bear Bryant. Which reminds me, Bear Bryant is the all-time winningest coach in Alabama history, while Nick Saban is second in school history. And you wonder how much longer Saban would be able to coach in the college game because he's in his late 60s. But let me tell you, this guy is about as diligent a worker in his late age as anyone in their younger age. So, don't be surprised if you see Nick Saban coaching in the game a little while longer. And don't be surprised if you see a lot of the Alabama kids wind up being drafted first overall in this coming draft. Well, about a minute to go. I just want to say thanks to Kenny Graham on the other side of the glass. And I also want to thank Hector for joining us for the time that he did. And I also want to say thanks to you guys at home for joining us. So, for everyone here, I'm Jamie. We hope to see you next time. Good night, everyone.